Hi, this is David Kettlewell, the host of mastersofharmonica.com. The following is an interview which was done on May 14th, 2014, with an exceptional artist, Oliver Ker Ourio, from Reunion Island, which is a French territory. He's done 8 albums and has developed a signature sound, an absolutely marvelous musician. And he is listed as one of the Hohner Masters of the Harmonica. In this interview, he talks about his music and chromatic harmonica. Enjoy. Yeah, let's begin with the first one, which is kind of what I think is unique about you, and the reason I reached out to interview you is that the number of people who have truly found a unique sound in music, there's not very many of them, and you've done that. And
thank you.
Yeah, I mean that puts you in a different group, and I think to a certain extent, we as listeners can tell that it's you. In other words, you have a definitive sound like Rachmaninoff or Chopin, Pat Metheny. These are people, and Toots Thielmans. You know, you pretty much know when you're hearing that particular. So my first question is, and let's understand that the purpose of the website mastersofharmonica.com is to help people to bring music into their lives and to be the very best musician on chromatic harmonica that they can be. So that's really our goal. But so the first question is, you know, for somebody that's in chromatic harmonica, how do you find the voice within?
Okay. Well, I think this is explainable by my background and my dream. You know, I'm a French citizen, but I'm originally from Reunion Island. That's in the Indian Ocean, in the very east of Madagascar, between Madagascar and Australia. And so there, you know, it's a tiny island like Hawaii, and that's the place where I grew up. And let's say when I had the dream of becoming a jazz harmonica player, it was very clear for me what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to improvise. I wanted to feel very free, like birds flying in the sky, you know. And so that's really what mattered to me. Also to find a unique voice, because as you know, in jazz, you can recognize a jazz player in the first 2 bars of a song. You know immediately that this is a Stan Getz, or this is Miles, or this is anyone else. So I've put lots of energy into trying to follow my own path, you know, and trying to sound the way I sound. And I think that's what you hear when I play. Also, one thing important is I think that musicians, they are storytellers, and we have things to say, and I think I have lots of things to say. So that's why the instrument is the vehicle, you know. But I'm trying to tell stories. That's all. That's what I'm doing when I compose songs. When I play harmonica, I try to tell stories, and I try to take whatever people in the audience, I try to take his hand and go and have a little trip together, you know. Come with me, you know. Let's go. Let's do some way together, you know. At least during the time of a concert. And
this is an additional question I'm going to throw in. How would you describe your relationship with the audience?
At first, in the first years when I was a professional musician, I could be a bit shy, and you know, I could be a little bit scary of going on changed a lot. It's not been the case for years and years and years now. And what I realize is when I go on stage, I just want to have pleasure. So I want to. It's so hard to be a professional musician, and it's so hard to get on that stage, to be on the stage and be able to perform in front of the audience. That I've really understood that life is short, and I want to have pleasure. And so the first thing I do when I go on stage, I take the microphone and I speak to the audience. I wish them the welcome. I'm happy that you're here, and I really mean it. It's not just bullshit. I'm so happy that people are sitting in front of me and listening to my music. I feel so privileged, and this is what I express. And I suppose they really feel it. The way I'm really sincere. It's not just bullshit. Hi, how are you doing? Blah blah blah. In order to conquer an audience, and then I feel privileged that I can play my own music, and that they can be receptive. And I try to take them on a trip with me. So about the storytelling, I think, and finding my own voice, I think that I was mentioning my background. I think that this is also due to my childhood in Reunion Island, where, how can I say, nature is beautiful. And so I didn't grow up in a city. I grew up in trees and ocean and mountains and beautiful landscapes. And maybe this is what I'm trying to express.
Okay, here's another question. We have a lot of musicians out there on the chromatic harmonica who are new to the instrument or perhaps intermediate, and some of them even are expert, but they really haven't found their own voice at all. They tend to cover other people's work and try to duplicate that sound. What do you think would be a good first step, the first step that you would suggest for somebody who's new to finding their own sound? How would you encourage them to start?
Well, I think that listening to other players is good. I did it. I listened to a lot of Toots. I listened a lot of Larry Adler, because my dad is also a harmonica player. That's what you should know. So he has lots of recordings by Larry Adler. And I think, for example, I listened a lot to Larry Adler without, but at the same time, always knowing that I didn't want to sound like him. I knew my sound was not his sound. I knew it from a very early age. But I was very admirative of his playing. And but the real blow for me was Toots, because for the first time I was hearing a guy who was free in improvisation, who had such an expressive voice. And so I decided, when I first heard the recording by Toots, it was Affinity, the Bill Evans recording.
Yeah.
And that was so strong that it hit me so strong that I cried all night. And then I realized I'm not going to be a musician. I can't make it. This is too high. This was like Himalaya to me, Everest. And then after a while, I realized if this guy did it, then there is a way. It's possible. So at least I can try to find my own way. And this is really what made me discover that I could try my own way. So I listened to Toots a lot, but how can I say? I remember from very early, I tried to sound my own way. And by the way, this is the best advice Toots gave me, because I know him quite well. And he told me, you have your own universe, you have your own compositions, because he knows my music. And he said, you come from this remote island, you have your own influences, find your own way. That's what he told me. And that's what I've been obsessed with all these years. Not only through playing the instrument and finding a sound, but also through composing, because it's not all about the harmonica. It's about the music you offer to the others, about the story. And the story is not only playing the harmonica. The story is how do you dress? How do you dress hope this is clear what I'm saying. I'm not sure. But
No, it's very clear. From a
okay.
training perspective, what separates the greats from other? And this would be from a training perspective. What can you say about the training of people who become great?
Well, I can say that I practiced a lot, first of all. But, for example, talking about sound, I remember I wanted to have a very warm, round, and not aggressive sound on the harmonica. And I was obsessed with it. So I remember practicing for weeks, only long notes, just sounds. Just holding one note and trying to make this note be alive and sound the way I hear it, which is round, warm, and So that's the. And then I trained also a lot improvisation. Also, I tried to invent or find my own phrases, because in jazz, you can listen to other players. You can also imitate solos. You can try to play on other people's solos. But the harmonica is so special that it's not always easy to, for example, try to reproduce a saxophone solo on the harmonica or a trumpet solo. But you can still try. I did try. I remember trying to play Larry Schneider's solo on Bill Evans' recording, or Tom Harrod, the trumpet player on Bill Evans' recording. We will meet again. And I also tried to reproduce Toots solos for a while. But I remember very clearly that I didn't like this very much. I was like, shit, I don't want to play this. I want to find my own voice. And even though I was very admirative of those musicians, and I'm still, today, when I hear those people playing, I feel great. It feels great. But I knew I had to find my own way, so I just I practiced a lot and trying to find my own phrasing into those chord changes, trying to understand very clearly the chord changes. Maybe one thing that helped me very much was that I decided I could not hear the chord changes very well, so I decided to play them on the piano and also on the guitar. And so all those years I've been practicing my harmonica, I've been playing guitar and piano on the side, so I could hear the changes very well and the voices within, inside.
Two questions relating to Toots Thielemans. The first is, what do you think Toots did for music? And the second question is, what do you think Toots Thielemans did for chromatic harmonica? But let's go to the first. What do you think Toots Thielemans did for music?
Oh, wow, what a question. I'm such a fan, that I'm not very objective. But if you forget for a minute that he's a harmonica player, what do you hear? You hear a great voice. That's what you hear. You hear a unique sound, a voice that's very expressive, that expresses emotions very well. And for me, that's what music is about. And when I hear this guy playing one note, it touches me right to the heart directly. There's no filter. And it's not about knowing stuff. It's not about intellectual process. It's about being right away in emotions. And this is his big strength, and that's why what I admire about him, and also his way of playing the melody is so fluid and so warm, and I don't know, as he says, he tries to play between a smile and a tear. Well, it's quite a good definition of him. And what he did on the harmonica is so amazing, because he just announced his retirement at 92 years old. This guy has been performing, playing for 70 years. harmonica the way you did before he arrived. He made it a very serious instrument that can really play anything in any context. And as we say in French, he gave his lettre de noblesse, which is he made the instrument noble, you know. That's what I would say. Also, I think he was a real pioneer, even though he was not the only one. I know even before him, he probably had his own influences when he was very young from different guys. I heard a recording with a guy called Thompson that was improvising already, and you can tell Toots was influenced by this guy. So anyway, Toots was... sorry, I'm getting lost in all those explanations. I think he was a real pioneer in trying to phrase and be as fluid as can be on this instrument as would be a clarinet player or a sax player or a trumpet player. And he was a real pioneer. Yeah. So he made it a real, you know, harmonica. When you read the Downbeat magazine, I think he made a joke about this. Harmonica is classified in the miscellaneous instruments, and I think he managed to make sure that this instrument is classified in the real serious instruments in jazz.
One of the things that you said earlier was that the chromatic harmonica is a unique instrument. Why is the chromatic harmonica a unique instrument in your opinion?
Well, this is the only instrument I know where you can, how do you say, inhale and also blow to get notes. Also, the using the slide button is quite tricky. Huh? It's not so easy, and so I mean, lots of people I know who are musicians already on different instruments told me that they tried playing the chromatic and they found it very difficult because it seems the logic of it is very different from anything else, and it's not easy to have fluidity because of the way that you produce the notes. And this has been my obsession for all these years. I'm 50 years old today, and I've been playing a long time, all my life. And I think really finding the fluidity is the definitive challenge. And Toots really found this. And so in order to really master this instrument, you really have to understand the geography of it. And also you have to understand what makes it unique and what you can do on this instrument you cannot do on a saxophone, and try to use what the instrument gives you. You know, there are some facilities on the chromatic, and that's what Toots really explored in all directions. He really managed to use everything that is simple, and by assembling all the simple things, you get something that's very sophisticated. But if you really explore in detail, in one phrase, you can explore how he plays those two notes and what is easy. Try to find what's easy.
One question would be, what instrument do you play and do you customize it?
Oh, okay. So for years I played the mellow tones because I like the smoothness of the sound. But what I didn't like was that the plates were nailed instead of screwed, and so it's really not easy to when you want to fix something. It's really not easy. So lately, in the last years, I've been playing the 270 Deluxe with screw plates. You know this one?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the one I've been using because it's easy to open and and close back.
Do you have a preference on round hole versus square? I think your instrument currently has square holes on the mouthpiece.
Yeah, I changed this years ago. Now I only use round holes. I've been using round holes for years. Yeah, they are less aggressive to the mouth.
How do you customize your instrument?
So I have a tendency to have quite a, let's call it a powerful playing. I play quite strong, and so it's difficult for me to play the instrument that comes straight from the factory because the reeds are not very much open. They are very close to the plate, and so this is good if you play very weakly, then you're gonna get the notes. But if you play a bit hard, the notes are not going to come out. You know this. And so what I do is when I have a new instrument, I don't touch it. I play it for a little while. So I start getting used to it, and then after a little while, I open it and I start opening the gaps, of the reeds. And I do this with a small tool, and I do it very delicately because it's very fragile. And I open a little bit so that it can take the strengths, You understand?
Yes.
Okay.
How is the perception of the chromatic harmonica as an instrument different in Europe from the United States?
Well, it will be difficult for me to talk about the United States point of view because I cannot say I know it. But in Europe, I don't know. But in France, what I can tell you is that there is a tradition of accordion. And especially now, accordion is a very used and recognized instrument in jazz. And they are very, very good players. And so since the chromatic harmonica is associated to the accordion because it sounds a little bit like an accordion, this is the image we have. The image we have is that it's a good instrument for melodies, and it has a small musette connotation, a little bit like the accordion. Musette is the style of playing accordion with very virtuosistic 3/4 melodies. Like this. So that's musette, style. And so the image is quite good, but there is still lots of work to do. Some people, some jazz critics I know in Paris, they will not write something about harmonica in their newspaper because they don't consider it seriously. That still happens today, one guy in the newspaper Le Monde. Wait a minute. Chérie, je suis au téléphone, ma puce. Hein, je peux pas reculer. Okay. Sorry, it's my daughter here. Anyway.
Next question. From a technical perspective, what is the greatest challenge for you as a player on chromatic harmonica?
The greatest technical challenge?
Yes.
Fluidity. It's being fluid. It's also, we talked about sound, but the one very phrases, but their swing is not good, or the rhythmic approach is not so good, and that for me makes a huge difference between a guy who is a great player and a guy who is an average player. So that's what I've been insisting on with a few guys that I was teaching sometimes. Or I teach improvisation in a school here to all instruments, not only harmonica. Sometimes I had harmonica students in that class.
You came to New York for a purpose, I'm guessing, for study.
Yeah.
Why did you go to New York?
Oh, yeah, that's a long time ago. That's back in '95. I had just 2 years before I had moved from Reunion Island to Paris, trying to follow my dream, being a jazz player and trying to make a living. And when you leave Reunion Island, you don't really know where you want to go. I'm French, so I went to Paris, but I was not sure I wanted to live in Paris. And I knew New York was the mecca of jazz, so and I had friends there, so I decided maybe I'm going to spend some time and try to figure out if this is where I want to be. So I spent almost a year in New York. I mainly took harmony and composition lessons with a pianist, and I did some jam sessions and a few recordings. But I realized that New York helped me figure out what I wanted. Mainly, it was a great influence in the sense that it was a huge blow, and listening to the high level of playing, and that's when I realized if I want to make it, I really have to practice hard and be very, very active. So that's what I did. I practiced a lot in New York. I was almost like an hermit sometimes. There were months, at the end of my stay, in the last 3 months, I was practicing from 9 in the morning to 6 in the evening every day, with a lunch break, that's all. And then I would play, just to, that's what New York did to me. And also I did my first recording in New York. And then I decided to move back to Paris, because I was already very busy in Paris. And that was the beginning of my career based in Paris.
In composer-arranger Quincy Jones' autobiography, Quincy Jones, he describes a discussion with a teacher-conductor-composer, Nadia Boulanger, and she said that music is a mix of feeling, sensation, belief, attachment, and knowledge. And again, that list is feeling, sensation, belief, attachment, and knowledge. Is that how you would personally define the essentials of music?
That's a very general question. It's really not easy to answer. I can tell you how I feel when I play, and what I look for, if there's something I look for. When I go on stage and play, I don't want my brain to work too much. I don't want to be into thinking. I want my brain to be empty, and it's not that I want it actually. My brain is empty when I play. I feel like I'm a receptive antenna, and that I have a very acute attention to every single sound I hear around me. Then I feel like I don't know what I'm going to play. So I feel like I play in reaction to what I hear, and that feels great, because it never feels the same. Every time you play, every concert is different. You play with what's happening in the moment. So I would define being a musician, I would define it as being in the now.
How would you describe the role of the audience?
The wall?
No, the role, R-O-L-E. What is the role of the audience in performance? Because they do have a role, but it's not talked about very much. So let's talk about the role of the audience.
Well, I would say that we are all, when we play, it's all vibrations, it's all energy. And so the audience is vibration and energy, and so there is this communication. You play for an audience, they respond, and there is a circulation of energy, and when we play, we are very highly sensitive to everything we hear or we get, and not only sound and clapping, but silence, and all this is part of the music. I can play in my living room, of course, but it's never going to feel the same as playing in front of an audience. So I don't know. It's sharing. It's as I said. We tell stories, but we travel together. That's the whole thing. It's going on the way and spending 1 hour and a half in a voyage, in a journey, and traveling and going together. That's what people tell me at the end of the concerts when they come to talk to me. They said. I mean, very often they tell me they could not imagine that this could be played on a harmonica. That's the one thing they tell me. And also they tell me we forget it's an harmonica. We just hear music pouring out of the instrument, and they tell me that it was like a trip, like a journey. And they also tell me that they get lots of images through what I play.
Every musician has times in their life with their music that are exhilarating, but there are also times of frustration. In your life in music, what moment was the most frustrating for you?
Well, I think that if you want to be a professional musician, and you have to understand that you're going to dedicate your whole life to it. That takes lots of sacrifices, everyday sacrifices. And one should be prepared, you're also what the audience see is the emerged part of the iceberg, and one should know that you have to deal with the 90% crap that's under the 10% emerged part, and it's not crap actually. I use the expression crap, but it's not. You have to love it. You have to go with it because this is your life. If you don't love this 90% that's under the surface, you're never going to be able to be a musician. You have to go with it. It's lots of work, lots of sacrifice. It's also lots of musician's ideal is to deal only with music, and you don't deal with music. You deal with lots of organization crap. You deal with lots of networking, contact, and trying to find concerts. I'm lucky I work with professionals, agents and stuff like this, but that doesn't mean that's it. I can sit in my house and do nothing, and everything is gonna come like in a click of my fingers. I know it's not. I've been very active myself in trying to promote the projects I do, the albums I release, and finding concerts and networking, and that's what every musician should do, because no one is going to do it for yourself.
As I look at your discography, I see that you have 8 albums total. It started with Magic Tree, Oversea, Sirocco, Salminker, A Ride with the Wind, Ote l'Ancêtre, Central Park Nord, and Perfect Match. Would you say that every one of these was a different personal journey?
Yeah, every time it's a new adventure. When you go in a studio and make a recording, it's a new adventure, and it's I think it's a matter. Music is also a matter of meeting people. You meet some people that really count, and you want to follow the road, at least a part of the road with them, at least for a while, you know.
Could you tell us a little bit about your most recent album that's just being released, Perfect Match?
Yeah. Perfect Match has been recorded after Magic Tree, which was my first recording with the Hammond organ player Emmanuel Bex, the French Hammond organ player. And very often in jazz, once you did a CD and a project with someone, you tend to go in a different direction for the next album, just to try to renew yourself. And also there are some concerts considerations, actuality, you know. All the jazz critics and people, they want you to have an actuality all the time. And I didn't want to do that for Perfect Match. I wanted to keep playing with this guy, Emmanuel Bex. And so this is the following of Magic Tree, Perfect Match. Except the difference is I added some more influences from my homeland, Reunion Island, adding this percussion player from there. He's from the island too, Nicolas Mukajambo. And so that helped me. This is the kind of jazz I hear and I want to play. I consider myself to play some kind of island jazz or tropical jazz, or I don't know. I like the sound of the percussions because that's my influences back from the island. The island was Reunion had slavery, you know. It was a former French colony, so it had slavery, and nowadays it's a very, very mixed up population, and the music is very influenced by East Africa and Madagascar, with lots of 6/8 songs, with a unique way of playing 6/8. It's like a language, you know. It's with an accent when you play a language. If you're from Switzerland, you're gonna speak French with a specific accent. If you're from Belgium, you're gonna speak French with a different accent. And so here it's the same. You can hear 6/8 music all over the planet, but the way we play it in Reunion Island is unique. That's all. So.
What would be the correct pronunciation of your name?
Ker Ourio.
And the first name, Olivier?
Yes.
So it's
my name. My last name is as Britain, from Brittany. You know, west of France. This where my ancestors come from. Ker means house or village. So it's like House of Ourio or Village of Ourio.
And how would musicians around the United States keep in touch with you and to learn about what you're doing? Do you want to tell us the name of your website?
You want my website?
Yes. Well, let's let the listeners here, know what your website is.
Oh, so it's 3 W's.kerourio.com.
Good. And
KROURIO.com.
Great. What advice, our last question here in this interview, and then I'll shut off the recorder and we'll talk for a couple minutes, but what advice do you have for beginning players of chromatic harmonica? Yes. What
Is your
advice?
question? For beginners.
Yeah. What if you were speaking to beginners all over the world? What would you say to them?
Are you telling me about beginners who are interested in becoming jazz players or just chromatic harmonica players?
People that are just getting started in the instrument and probably haven't decided which idiom they want to go into yet.
Hmm. Uh-huh. That's a good question. Because, I mean, for, in my own case, when I started playing the chromatic harmonica, I knew I wanted to be a jazz player from the very beginning. So all the efforts I spent were directed into understanding improvisation, harmony, chord changes, and all those things. So that's maybe what I could talk about, my own experience. I think that any soloist, could be a sax player or harmonica player, anything, should be able to hear correctly harmony. And so I would highly recommend to play a harmonical instrument beside playing the harmonica in order to hear changes and to hear voice leading. So that's what I did. I played lots of piano and lots of guitar. I don't consider myself to be a good pianist or a good guitar player, but I can play changes. So if I see any song in the real book, for example, and I want to hear what it sounds like, I can take a guitar or a piano and play the changes. And so with the melody, I instantly hear what the song is about. Okay.
Is there another topic that you'd like to talk about?
Some people can tend to forget the bigger picture, which is music, knowledge in music. I incidentally happen to play chromatic harmonica, but it's just a coincidence. You know, I could play, I think that if I was playing music on a soprano sax or anything else, I would be the same musician I am. So it's not about the instrument, it's about what you hear and what stories you're going to tell. And so, of course, you have to try and master your technique, because the instrument is the vehicle. I mean, it would be hard for me to say the contrary. I play chromatic harmonica and I just love it. It's a life passion. But it's not. But really, it doesn't matter. That's not what matters to me. What matters is music, what you play. When you ask me a question about Toots Tillmans, maybe something I forgot to mention is his rare ability to hit the right note at the right moment, to go and try to hit the beautiful note, you know. And this is not harmonica. It's got nothing to do with harmonica. It's about what he hears in his brain and how what he's able to deliver musically. Then he happens to play the harmonica, but you would give him a flute, he would do the same. Actually, Toots is a guitar player, and he would have the same ability of hitting the beautiful note on the guitar. So, of course, you have to master the instrument in order to do so. But